Yeah.
Anywhere. They're all good.
See, Brad is online.
All right, thank you. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us for the Citizens Advisory Committee meeting of Monroe County Solid Waste Management District. I will call our meeting to order. It is 5:19 on March 17th, 2022. This is our March regular meeting. I appreciate everyone's patience as we go through our first virtual hybrid in-person session, which is why we've given a little bit more time to make sure that everybody was able to join. It looks like we do not have an in-person quorum, so we won't be able to have final action taken today. But as I had mentioned in our reminder email, there's quite a bit of important information, particularly with upcoming events, that I wanted to make sure that everyone was able to get. So I wanted to make sure that we still convene this meeting to exchange that information. That said, we do not have a secretary present, so I will ask our Vice Chair, Rondi Cox, if you will either be interested in serving as secretary or appointing one for this meeting.
Oh, if I appoint one, do I just have to say who it is?
Essentially,
Oh, I mean, I didn't think I was doing that, so.
right. Well, I mean, you can appoint someone in the absence of the secretary.
Oh, isn't Lily doing it virtually? I thought she had put.
She is, according to a change of plans, unable to attend virtually at the moment. So
Okay,
well, who we have present,
We can still make a recording of the meeting available to
yeah,
whoever's
that's what we've done.
responsible for doing
Past.
this.
Yeah. I didn't even bring anything I would be able to.
sorry, say again, Tom?
Huh?
What was your last remark?
There'll be a recording of the meeting that can be made available to whoever is responsible for doing it.
Okay. Well, in that case, I think we will proceed to the roll call.
Ryan Conway,
Present.
Rondi Cox, present. Lily Heinlein. Andrew Manley,
Present.
Paul White. Joe Winia,
Here.
Adelaide Petroview,
Present.
Nelson Schaefer. John Arnold. Corning Wilder,
Here.
Bradley Lucas,
Present.
seven present, but what, 2 are online?
Let's see. So that gives 4 in-person attendees and I believe it's 3 online and 3 virtual. So we do not have a quorum, but we will proceed with the content that does not require final action. So I guess we'll start by adopting the agenda. This agenda was distributed by email and uploaded to Dropbox on Monday, March 14th. Are there any objections to adopting it as distributed and as shown in the screen share? Hearing and seeing none, the agenda is adopted. We will not be able to approve meeting minutes, so we will proceed on to reports from the district, if you would, Tom.
Yeah, I guess the first thing that related to the board last week, I'm not sure how many people are aware, Bedford Recycling has proposed putting a scrap metal facility in on Dillman Road, literally across the street from our recycling center down there. There's been some opposition to it and some questions raised about the zoning classifications and some changes to zoning ordinances that are being considered. And as a result of all of that and some of the terminology that's been used regarding the facility, Republic Services has taken the position that it is a waste facility, and that if it was to be approved and put in, it would jeopardize the host fee agreement with the district. Now, we obviously take a different position on that. The state does define scrap metal processors separately from waste management facilities. They're not permitted or registered with the state. And from our position, do not fall within the scope of the county ordinance 2008-17, which requires a needs determination from the district. So we'll see where that goes, but just to make people aware that, for lack of a better word that I used last week, that threat has been put out by Republic regarding the district's host fee. So, and other than that, let's see, we at the last board meeting, we were prepared to present to the board responses received to a request for information that was put out regarding waste tire management and disposal options in the county. That was a first step, toward the district looking at accepting waste tires. No responses were received from any local businesses. So, so the district is going to move forward to look at implementing a program to accept waste tires from residents, and we'll see how quickly that comes together. But we're going to move forward with that, and we'll see what, if any, opposition may come up during the process of getting that implemented. But the other, we also at the last board meeting had a request for bid out for the orange bags that we use for our pay-as-you-throw program. Only one bid was received. It was from our current vendor at about a 40% price increase, which we kind of knew that's where they were. That's why we went out for bid to begin with, because of the price increase that they were looking to put in place. The board, the request asked for a 3-year agreement for the winning bidder. So the bid was based on a 3-year agreement. It did have a price escalation clause in it. It was based on the CPI plus 3%. The board has some concerns about that, and did not reject, but also did not award or accept the bid at that time. The bid is good for 60 days, so we have time. What the board did vote and directed staff to go back to the bidder and see if they would be willing to do a 1-year agreement at those same price terms. And so we're working through that with the bidder right now, and with legal counsel to make sure that we don't violate any laws or rules with how we move forward on this, and would hope to have something to present to the board at the April meeting. And the options for them would be to, accept the terms that if Waste Zero is agreeable to a 1-year agreement, we accept the terms that they present to us, or we just reject the bid outright at that time. And we could go out for, we could do just a request for quotes based on the annual value of what that agreement would be on our historical purchases. It's a much quicker process. My concern with quotes is that we get, it's harder to get a sample of the product that we would be purchasing to ensure that it meets the specifications that we're looking for and is comparable to what our orange bag customers are used to, as we use the same vendor for 7 or 8 years now. So those are, I guess, the 3 big things that we have going on right now. Still, apartment recycling is still there. We're still trying to identify places where it might be suitable to put a recycling center in that would be convenient for apartment dwellers. Did get some information from the city that pinpoints on a map where multi-residential dwellings are located. So that'll be a big help, helping to identify population concentrations and where we might get, areas we might get the biggest bang for the buck, so to speak, as far as hitting apartment residents. That's all.
Thank you, Tom. Are there any questions on that report?
I was curious about waste tire collection. Does that just mean like automotive tires, or would that also include bicycle tires?
Well, I mean, and that's something that would have to be determined.
Mhm.
Bicycle tires is actually not something that has come up in our discussions. We've kind of gone the other extreme on that. And what about farm equipment tires, tractor
Sure.
tires, ATV tires? Those are all things that would have to be determined before we had something up and running. And a lot of it will probably be based on the vendor that we elect to work with, and what they can accept and what their pricing structure looks like. When you get into larger tires, things can get pretty pricey.
Well, years ago, we had looked into, there was a company, I don't remember if it was called Liberty or something, but they did bicycle tire recycling. And but it would have been cost prohibitive, I think, for us
Yeah.
to do that. But so I was just interested if that would be something that they included.
Yeah, I think Liberty Tire is who we currently use for the illegally dumped tires
Oh, okay.
that we collect.
Sure. Thanks.
Are there any other questions?
Tom, just really quickly, has the district looked into a mobile apartment recycling option rather than just a stationary one?
No, no, we haven't. That's probably something that might be worth looking into. The immediate concern that comes to mind is capacity.
Yeah,
But without knowing what kind of participation we'd get, it's hard to estimate what kind of capacity you would need.
okay.
Thank you, Andrew. Other questions?
Not a question, but a quick response. I just wanted to say thanks for looking into the apartment recycling question. I'm sure you guys have had conversations about this before I joined the CAC, but it's something that I hear all the time just from people that I talk with. And so it's really cool to hear that you guys are making progress on trying to make that a reality.
I'm sorry, Adelaide, I did
It's
not.
hard to hear.
Yeah, that was hard to understand in here.
Oh, sorry. I'll make it, the short version is thank you for looking into apartment recycling.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was just going to mention, thank you, Adelaide. If I had heard correctly, it was just that Adelaide had heard from a lot of people that that's a need in the area and is glad that it's being looked into. So thank you for that comment. Any others? If not, I would like to ask Tom if you happen to know if there is a likelihood or what the number of other possible orange bag vendors in the area or region are in terms of the one bid that was provided. Are there other likely providers in the area that you would expect to potentially hear from in a subsequent year?
We actually had, in addition to our current vendor, we had 3 other vendors that we identified that we directly sent that request for bid for, that chose not to respond. Do not know why, but it's not a regional or a local thing. Our current vendor is out of South Carolina. A lot of these companies are big enough that they'll have a headquarters somewhere and 2, 3, maybe 4 manufacturing plants throughout the country to help with distribution. So we're not necessarily looking locally. It's transportation cost and price per bag, and where it comes from doesn't matter.
Gotcha. Thank you. All right. That concludes the report from the district, unless there are any further questions. And seeing none, we will proceed to the report from the chair. I have a couple of items that I would like to bring to the committee's attention. The first is that we have a new member who was appointed at last week's board meeting. That is Brad Lucas, who is the Director of Building Operations for MCCSC and is the trustee appointed representative to the CAC. So I wanted to say welcome and we'll have I think, an opportunity for a quick introduction if you're interested, Brad, following the report. The second item that I have is that the board did arrange a plan to hold a joint meeting on April 14th following the regular meeting, which is scheduled at 4 p.m. So that was one of the most important things that I wanted to mention during this meeting, because we won't have another meeting before that meeting is convened. So I want to make sure that everyone present is aware that that is the time and the date of our proposed board joint meeting. And that meeting is going to be based on the following 3 points. The first is the district's financial support for the proposed anaerobic biodigester feasibility study. The second will be the apartment recycling in further detail. And then the third will be the 5-year plan, goals, and objectives related to the district's rebranding. And a specific note on the anaerobic biodigester point is that the board is planning to take final action on that feasibility study decision. And that will likely need to happen during their meeting, which will precede our meeting. So ideally, if you anticipate contributing to that discussion, we are able to through code by participating in the discussion with the board without voting rights. So be present prior to the joint meeting if you anticipate making contributions to that decision, so that the board will be able to take final action during their meeting, because our joint meeting will be a separate meeting that is convened following the adjournment of the board meeting.
I would just add to that we are discussing with our legal counsel what ability the board would have to make a decision at that joint meeting. So it might be possible that they could take action at that joint meeting.
Okay. I will disseminate that information in the meeting reminder message probably a week before the board meeting takes place. Also, as a note on timing, because it's following the board meeting and the board meeting doesn't have a fixed end time, we won't be able to set an exact time that we will convene our joint meeting, but I anticipate around 45 minutes being reasonable. Just wanted to confirm with you, Tom, that sounds like a 4:45 CAC presence would be adequate for following up the board meeting.
Yeah, roughly, but I'll be able to give you a bit more, a closer or more concise window once we have the agenda for the board meeting decided upon, and then we'll have a better idea of how long it'll take to get through that.
Okay. Perfect. I will also add that more detailed information then in the reminder email that follows the executive committee meeting. And that is all for the chair report. Are there any questions?
Will we be inviting city employees involved in that planning that may be able to answer questions such as like Vic Kelson or anyone else?
We certainly can.
They will, I think they're already invited to the board meeting, if I'm not mistaken, at least as of the last board meeting.
Yeah, and that's something that would depend on if the board wants to have that discussion as a part of their meeting agenda, then CBU would be invited to that. If they're going to keep it off their agenda because we're going to turn around and have a joint meeting on that item, then it would make sense to me to invite Mr. Kelson or whoever he thinks should be present to that joint meeting. But I mean, that would be not my call. That's the call of the CAC and the board. So.
Okay. I was just going to ask, I think I'll probably also send a message then to the board, at least to Chairperson Munson of the board, to get a gauge on their interest in having attendance, and then include the CAC in that, if that covers your question.
Yeah, thank you, both.
Make a quick note of that. Are there any other questions on the report? All right, seeing none, I would like to give our new member, Brad Lucas, the opportunity to introduce himself. Brad, if you're present and interested, now would be a great time.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
Perfect. So as stated, my name's Brad Lucas. I'm with Monroe County School Corporation as the Director of Building Operations. I've been with MCCSC for nearly 22 years in many different roles. And I want to thank all of you for giving me the opportunity to be a part of this board. I'm looking forward to learning, and I have my class 1 wastewater license. So hopefully there's some things I can bring to the board as well and hopefully help out.
Thank you, Brad. I appreciate that. Good to have you on board.
I appreciate it. Thank you all.
All right, with that, that will conclude our reports, and we will move on to unfinished business and general orders. We have carried over from last month's meeting, 2022 objective planning, which doesn't require final action, but I think deserves some discussion. It's been carried over for 2 meetings, actually, so I'd like to make sure that we designate at least a little bit of time to that. And I'd like to open it up to thoughts from members.
I like to see some group volunteerism with the Adopt a Road. I was unfortunately not able to go last year, but that maybe doing some invasive species removal with Iris or MC Iris, just trying to get our body out in the public and let people know what we're doing.
I would just, for the people that are attending on Zoom, I am monitoring the Zoom feed. If you have something you'd like to say, use the raise hand feature and I will let Joe know that you would like to speak.
I was trying to remember when we did the Adopt a Road, was that around this time or in the spring? Last year?
I think so. Yeah, I suppose now would be as good a time as any. Yeah, actually following winter is normally, seems like a logical time to do it because there's a lot that accumulates over the winter and is buried in snow and that becomes available with the melt. So perhaps we can already begin looking into arranging a timing for that again, without being able to make a solid plan today. Maybe I will set up a scheduling poll. Okay. Are there any thoughts on immediate availabilities or unavailabilities in broad strokes?
Well, Good 5 weekend is the weekend of April 22nd. So if we're looking in April, I know I'm busy that weekend. I don't know about that.
Good to know. Thank you.
I love that.
And then the weekend before that being Easter, as well as traveling.
Okay.
So maybe early in April or
Those both sound like good opportunities to me. Any objection to an early April or an early May set of choices?
We did it on the 17th last year.
Thank
A
you.
good time. I was just showing Andrew one of the pictures. In
Was
fact,
that
one of the actual, like, it's like a GIF of like Andrea has a trash grabber in her hand and it's like doing this
Yeah.
crab dance, like with the trash grabbers.
perfect.
Oh, yeah. Put that on the website.
It was in April
I was
or
gonna say, was
April
it March
17th.
or April? Okay.
I feel like I need to see that.
Yes, absolutely, yes.
That's another thing that comes to mind. Fun photos and whatnot, sharing those with the public, maybe making an Instagram account or something for public outreach.
We will also, I mean, for Adopt a Road groups, we've done this. I mean, if groups want to submit pictures to the district after a cleanup, we'll put them on our Facebook page and, you know, tag the group if they have a Facebook page or, you know, give a shout out to the group that's done cleanups.
I think that is a fine idea. And I'm definitely up for additional public outreach, but I will also not be managing that account. I'll just take that up front. Are there any other thoughts on 2020 planning? Sorry, 2022. I know what year it is.
We never left 2020.
I would like to add, let's see. Thanks, Alex. I would like to add that I intend to have and keep a focus on following with just the 5-year management plans with the district and making sure that the CAC is kind of choosing what its priorities for implementation are, and just making sure that we're tracking and the district is tracking on how we all want to see things unfold. So that's one thing I want to just kind of have as a general item for the year moving forward.
I think that makes a lot of sense. We put so much time and effort into it too, and it's a good plan. It's a darn fine plan.
Agreed. So without any further comments or questions, we will proceed onto our new business for this meeting, which is going to begin with the signatures for Resolution 2022-02, which is to adopt bylaws. I have a printed copy with me here so that those who are physically present can sign it before we leave.
Nice.
I will provide that to Director McGlasson following the meeting so that it can reside at the district office, or anyone who is present virtually and does not anticipate being able to attend at next month's meeting will be able to sign it there. I think, Tom, if you would be willing, we could bring this back to next month's meeting if for more in-person attendees, and then hopefully in that 1 month's time, we'll be able to complete the full set of signatures.
Yeah, I mean, people are welcome to, at their convenience, stop by the office and sign it. Maybe we'll get them all done by.
Ideally, yes, that would be great. I'd love to see that happen. Just want to make sure that everyone is aware of where it's located and has the opportunity to take care of it. So that was all to cover on that. I think at the conclusion of the meeting, we'll take signatures to keep that out of the main meeting time. We also had the meeting room conflict for the September 15th meeting, which we will either need to reschedule, or I also wanted to pose the question, Tom, if we're able to use a different meeting room for that time. If we were to keep the same time, are there other meeting rooms that are available through?
I would have to inquire about that, and then, and that may also depend on where we are at that time, and what our situation is with regard to in-person, hybrid, virtual meetings. So, I mean, if we're still where we are today, I'll have to inquire. I'm not sure what rooms we have available that can do the hybrid meetings at this time.
What about if we needed to meet at, or wanted to meet at the district office? Is that the capabilities that we need for the?
As of right now, we do not
Okay.
have that ability, and haven't even discussed getting that.
Okay.
Are there any general sentiments on a preference for a rescheduling of time versus a rescheduling of location or rebooking of location?
Do we just make it like a week earlier or a week later? Or something?
Yeah, essentially whatever we agree to. Okay.
This is the November.
September 15th meeting. So I think what we'll do is table that. Yeah, I'll move that we table this, or we postpone it for the April regular meeting. Is there any objection? Okay. So that will be postponed for a time when we will target having attendance. And that will bring us to our third item of new business, which is not new in the broad sense, so much as there's been new information made available on the CBU, City of Bloomington Utility Biodigester Feasibility Study Proposal. So I would like to provide in this meeting the opportunity for members to discuss any sentiments with respect to the new information that was provided. And also this would be our last opportunity prior to the board meeting if we were interested in having a collective recommendation to the board based on having had the time and the information available to us that we weren't able to do at the preceding meeting. So that information is included in the packet, and I will open the floor to any input. Seeing none, I will just remind everyone that if you have personal remarks you want to make, you can do so directly with the board at the next month's meeting. So I'm glad that we had the opportunity to discuss any further.
I'm just glad that we got the more information that was requested and the powers that be that did that. Thank you to them.
Mr. Kelson is the, he was the one that gave me the approval to share publicly.
All right, so that will conclude discussions on the biodigester feasibility study proposal and bring us to our last item of new business, which is planning for hybrid attendance. I made my best effort to communicate via email, which is not always an easy way to communicate a new and not necessarily simple method for trying to deal with the hybridization of in-person and virtual meetings. I think I'll start with a reminder of the requirements for these types of meetings. And that is, we are required to have a 50% in-person attendance at all meetings, which means every quorum will always have to be in person. Virtual attendance is only possible after that is met.
And it's 50% of the total membership, not a quorum. Is that correct?
Correct.
So with 11 members, you need 6
Yes.
physically present to officially have a meeting.
So there's that. And then when it comes to the actual virtual attendance, there's a maximum of 2 consecutive virtual sessions that any member can have before being required to attend in person again. And then no more than half of the meetings in a given year can be attended virtually. So that said, I will share my screen for a moment to make 2 documents, the location of 2 documents known. The first is the details of what I just described are present in our resolution 2021-01, which was to adopt the policy on virtual meetings. So that is available in the Dropbox, right in our CAC folder. And then there is an Exhibit A that describes exactly the language. So if anyone has any questions about it or needs to reference it in the future, you can find it all here. That is in the CAC folder, resolution 2021-01. So the other important document that I alluded to or referenced in email messages is in the meetings folder, and that is a member attendance spreadsheet. And the interest of this spreadsheet is to make sure that we actually have the in-person attendance prior to the meeting before members coming to a meeting that won't be able to take final action. I will say both on personally on my behalf and as chair, it is important to me that the time and contributions of attending members be respected and treated accordingly so that we don't have hung meetings where we're not able to accomplish things and having people spending time and effort and making arrangements and parking to come to that meeting, which has been a problem in the past and we've not had to deal with for 2 years, but that added component, I mean, it's been important all along to be attending meetings, but in this case, we now have a larger personal cost to lack of attendance. So that's why I want to stress the importance of making that communication in advance and also balancing the needs of a preferential virtual attendance versus a required one. Because preferential attendance is perfectly fine, provided that we have that in-person quorum. So the intent is for all members to be able to communicate if they will be in person or cannot be in person, so that those who have a preference will know if they need to attend in person or if they're able to attend virtually. So this was its pilot run for this meeting. I think it had mixed success. As you can see, there was a majority of responses, some non-responses, and some late responses. So what I am interested in is hearing from members about the effectiveness of this particular solution and potential alternatives or other thoughts regarding this approach altogether.
I liked it. It's new, but so yeah, there's uptake costs, but it's a good system. I think it's comprehensive. Clearly I messed up because I thought I planned on attending virtually, but I was able to get my work done today and rearrange things so I could be here. Largely because if it's in a calendar year, we all, forcibly lost the last 2 months in terms of our volition of choosing whether to come in or not. So because I know that the year will only get more busy for us, I'm trying to pack them in my agenda. So I am here. I will correct my notation in the document.
Did you share with them the legal opinion we got in the first 2 meetings?
I did not yet. This just reminded me of that.
Okay.
I will make a quick interjection following Ryan's remark that with respect to the 50%, or I guess the limits to the virtual requirements, which are also listed at the top of this sheet, which I'll highlight here. The first 2 months of this year do not apply to those, but the limits do not apply to the first 2 months of this year because they were all required virtual. So we're counting 10 months, so that would be 5 permitted virtual attendances. And obviously, we didn't all have to come in person today because we had 2 previous virtual meetings. So that counter will start as of now, effectively. So that note included, are there any other thoughts on this method or the methodology in general for trying to manage hybrid meeting attendance?
I think if everybody just makes a point of putting a reminder on their calendar to fill out the sheet each time ahead of the meeting, maybe put it on your calendar to do it a week ahead of the meeting. Then you'll have adequate time to do it by that Sunday. That would be good. So if based on what people have entered, then we may need to change who's attending, when will we make that call? Or how does that work? Is it up for people to self-monitor just to look at it and see after a certain, like after that Sunday, maybe look at it and see like, oh, I better actually attend in person so that we have.
Right. The note that I had made in the email was that I will send a reminder in the meeting reminder announcement to enter your information, and that the final decision will be made the Monday before the meeting, 3 days prior to the meeting. So that was my proposal. Again, this is all up for discussion. This is our first time going through it. So I want to make sure that we take in that feedback, but that was what I thought to be a reasonable time, particularly because all of the notifications require 2 days notice. So I thought it would be good to have a day advance to the minimum required notice, and that since our meetings are on Thursday, the start of the week would be a reasonable time to have all of the information in and make a final decision on either canceling the meeting if we don't have a known confirmed sufficient attendance, or holding the meeting knowing that we'll be able to take final action. Obviously, I realize plans change, things come up, schedules change. I mean, we're not gonna crucify anyone over this, but this is at least a base way to make sure that we're planning to the best of our ability to use our time well.
And I think it's easy enough to use the sheet, so.
Excellent. That was the hope. Are there any virtual members who I'm also trying to track with who have any input? All right. Seeing no hands or comments, I will plan on, or actually, we can't take final action. I will at least plan on continuing with this method for the next meeting as described in the email and confirmed via this meeting. And I will lastly note as a quick demonstration that when the values are updated by the secretary following the meeting, there will actually be a tracking of the number of meetings attended. So, and the types of meetings. So once you attend virtually twice, you will be notified here. And as you mentioned, Rondi, the intent is for this to be self-managing, provided that everyone is able to update the information within the specified time frame. Because if it's done the day of, that doesn't really help an awful lot because that puts us in the same situation. But this is for everyone to have the maximum possible amount of information relative to their attendance. So they can we can each manage our own attendance and know when we're compliant or incompliant virtually.
Thank you. These spreadsheets are amazing. Your spreadsheets are great.
I appreciate that. Yes.
Can I get 2 cents in?
Oh, please, yes.
No, no, I mean, first off, you are not the only body struggling with this. This is a trial by error for all of us, the board, the executive committee, and I'm sure a number of other city and county bodies and agencies as well. So it is a learning process for all of us. And then also with regard to the attendance requirements, I just want to, point out that has to do with participation. So if you attend 2 consecutive meetings virtually, it's not that you can't attend that 3rd meeting. You could watch the Zoom feed, you could even log into it, but you cannot vote. You will not count toward a quorum. It doesn't preclude you from watching the meeting. You just are not considered an official participant present from the body.
Indeed, thank you for that clarification. And also, a finer detail is that if you're attending via call, you do count towards quorum, but you are unable to vote. So the vote requires the video feed as well.
Yes,
Not
yes,
mistaken.
yes. In order, you have to be seen and heard.
Right.
Yes.
So you could potentially call in to achieve a quorum if you're within your virtual limits.
So I guess, to use this meeting as an example, if we had a quorum present here, and we'll just Brad, because I see his name up first, and Brad was online and a vote came up, he would need to turn his camera on to say his vote, to officially vote on that issue.
Are there any questions on any of those broad and finer points?
I don't know if it's mentioned and I missed it, but would you discourage people from filling it out ahead of time, like just going through the whole year and marking all of them now if they know their schedule? Like, is the intent just to do it month by month?
It's a good question. I think in terms of its operation, it won't make a difference. And I think, let's see. So it will total your attendance record as if you've attended.
Okay.
So that won't be accurate as of the current date if you're planning out into the future.
So maybe just do one month at a time.
But I think that would be the ideal. I think it would also help for clarity as well if it was always visibly evident which month we were in and which month everybody was filling in as the current month. But I do appreciate the forethought.
Well, and I was just kind of thinking because some people, like, sometimes we've had to cancel the December meeting, with people traveling for the holidays and stuff. So I could see people, if they knew they were going to be gone, going ahead and marking that, or whatever, anytime they know that they're going to be gone well in advance, they
I see.
might be inclined to mark it. But
I will say that anytime I think following the present meeting would still be adequate. It doesn't need to be the week before the meeting. I think actually ideally following the meeting would be helpful. Thank you for the question. Other questions or comments? Seeing none, that brings us through the last item of new business on the agenda. Are there any items of new business that anyone has to propose to discuss while we're convened?
I do have a question. I'm not sure if this is something that needs to be discussed while everyone's here. If this is something to talk about over email, I can do that as well. But I will be out of Bloomington for the next several months because of an internship that I'm taking. And don't know if I'll be coming back. And so I think that I won't be able to attend meetings in the future and probably should have my name taken off the list so that I'm not counting, I'm not making the quorum higher than it needs to be in order to get a consensus. How is that going to be addressed?
That is a fantastic question. I know per the bylaws, resignation is permitted at any time, and I believe it specifies communicating your intent to resign to the chair and the board. And what I can do is in the screen share, review that right now. That's not it. Indeed. So Article 3, membership, Section 5, resignation. Resignation of membership shall be submitted in writing to the chair of the CAC and to the board of directors. Does that feel
Okay.
good?
Yes, I can do that. Thank you. And I also wanted to apologize for leaving so soon after joining. It was very unexpected, but I think for the best.
Understood. And thank you for your participation during your membership. You will be missed. Are there any other items of new business?
Tom, I should have asked when you were giving your report, are there any major Earth Day plans?
Well, we're doing the discounted sale of compost bins and rain barrels online that we've done the past 3 or 4 years now. And you can always contact Elisa Pokral at our office. She's coordinating that on our end. But it is an online sales event. GoGreenDistrictOrders.com is the website. And I think orders are being accepted through I don't know the exact date, but through the beginning of April with items to be delivered and made available to the purchasers April 22nd and 23rd, I believe. And this year we're partnering with Monroe County Soil and Water Conservation District and Rural King. And the pickup points, when you make your order online, you'll have an option to pick it up at the district office or at Rural King. We'll get all the materials distributed to the correct locations to be picked up when the time comes.
I did order a couple rain barrels a couple years ago and they're really nice in case anybody's wondering.
Good.
Thank you, Rondi and Tom. Any other items? All right, seeing none, that will conclude our new business for today. That would bring us to public comment, though I see no members of the public present. Are there any member comments? All right, seeing none, second opportunity for comments via the good of the order. Anyone have any remarks to make?
It's great to be back.
Agreed. I want to thank those who attended in person for physically showing up, for those who are online for following all of the information. I look forward to seeing more people in person as time goes on. It's very exciting. And with that, if there is no opposition, the meeting will be adjourned. Seeing none, we are adjourned. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.